be Saints fans. I don't know. Maybe you're just a football fan. Maybe you're just a fan of intellect in general. But as a Saints fan, I don't get to experience that because it has now been reported that maybe the one, the only, the revered Mike Kafka, it might be the selection for the Saints. Now I know they're talking about Kellen Moore, but he's still playing the Super Bowl, and the Saints have slow played it in the past to be able to hire a coach that they really wanted, i.e., last year. But is this really where Mickey Loomis is going to go? Is Mickey Loomis really going to be the guy who's going to sit there and be patient, hoping Kellen Moore will accept the position to be the new Saints head coach? Or is he going to do something so absolutely stupid and put his job on the line? Right now, Mickey Loomis is acting like the kid most likely to succeed, which, of course, is great, but that's his senior high. That's his senior in his homeschool. And so that's like, I mean, there's not much to write home about that. He is absolutely losing his mind. He needs to hire Kellen Moore. I never thought I would sit there and say maybe Mike McCarthy, but I don't know. I don't want to say anything too stupid or sound crazy like Mickey Loomis is doing. But we shall see. We have much more to talk about. We are here today. We are live again. This is your weekly edition of Box Scores and Bourbon. Manny, before I get into it, let's cheers in.
Cheers, buddy.
Cheers, buddy.
Welcome to another episode. Let me tell you my view on your Saints. I'm going to tell you how you should feel about your Saints.
By all means, go ahead. I don't care. My dad told me how I should feel about my mom because she left him. So this is not the first time someone has told me how I should feel about something.
You should not feel encouraged by your Saints. This is just chronologically based off of this news that I've heard and the reports that I keep seeing. You as a Saints fan and me as a Cowboys fan, we could easily be on the very same sad, sinking boat with the world's tiniest violin as we mourn our seasons away. But this started with, for sure they're going after Mike McCarthy. And then Mike McCarthy decided he's going to sit out for a year to reassess his coaching and then try for the 2026 cycle. And then I saw a report saying that the brass was going to go meet with Kellen Moore with the intent of leaving that meeting with him under contract. And since then, I haven't heard anything as far as a contract happening. And now the part that blew me over the edge was when I saw a report that said, well, according to insiders from the Saints, if Kellen Moore doesn't take this job, they have no plan as far as who the head coach for this organization is going to be.
I have said this. I think I said this on 2 pods ago when it came out that, hey, we're casting a wide net. We're leaving no stone unturned. That's great. You know what else is awesome? If you have no idea where you're going, any train will get you there. Like there's no direction at all. I don't need to hear from the powers that be of my favorite NFL team that I have an irrational love for, that unjustifiably ruins my Sundays for the most part of the last 3-4 years. I don't need to hear from the man making the decisions.
Yeah.
That, hey, maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. Like I need to know we're going after Aaron Glenn. We can't get him. Then Cliff Kingsbury is our guy. That's who we're going after. That's it.
They didn't even interview him. They didn't even interview him.
I know, because they're morons. But, well, Mickey Loomis is a moron. And like I said at the top, he is like the kid voted most likely to succeed, but, that's in his homeschool, okay? And that's only because his little brother eats rocks. So, there's not much competition there.
Yeah.
There's no one in that organization that shows any sense of direction, that shows any sense of conviction, really, about what needs to happen next. Yeah. They really are becoming the New Orleans Aints. Yeah. This is honest to goodness, what they were becoming.
For-
Because there ain't no direction, there ain't no accountability,
Yep.
there ain't no conviction, they ain't got no players to get them anywhere.
And
Like this
they
is
ain't got
they
no
ain't got no
cap room.
leadership.
Don't forget the cap room. They ain't got no
They,
cap
they
room.
ain't got no cap room. They
That
ain't got nothing.
I think that is I honestly think that is the sticking point for anybody that has considered that job. Yeah, I mean, as an organization, as a franchise, the Saints are a well-known organization. Like a lot of potential head coaches and coordinators, I feel like would love the opportunity to
Yeah.
coach a well-esteemed franchise like the Saints. But you go into their books and they're what 7 years in a row over the cap, and they're 32nd with the amount of cap room they have. Like I think last report I saw they're like 50 million over the cap for this next offseason. You're gonna coach screw up. We should go to New Orleans and try out for that team because they're gonna be trying to pick up whatever scraps they can get. They
Yeah.
can't afford good players. Who would want that job when you can't afford a good player?
Yeah.
You have no quarterback. All your coordinators are gone. No cap room, and probably haven't looked at the draft. But I'm pretty sure they don't have any
Yep.
picks either. They don't have anything going for them.
In the words of the immortal Harry Dunn, we don't have enough money to get to Aspen. We don't have enough money to eat. We don't even have enough money to sleep. Like this is like it's just we can't even attract the guy who treats his own city chant like it's a sex call. Like I don't like Duval. Like I don't we can't even get the guy who tries to do a Austin Powers impression. Like I don't like this is like it is insane to me. And
Yeah.
honestly, I didn't even want to talk about the Saints at the top. Okay, we were coming on here. I had a completely different monologue until 15 seconds before we came on. And you, sir, said, "Oh man, I'm so sad you're not talking about the Saints." Well,
Yeah.
you want to start me up? Well, here you go, Mick. I'm started up now. Like I just like I. But
What better way? JB, every time I take over the monologue, it is because I have some very deep hate for whatever dumb decision Jerry Jones has decided to do with the Cowboys. I felt like it was appropriate for you to take that seat from me and just spew your hatred about the way your organization is running. It seems appropriate. And what better way to kick up an episode by getting you all riled up as we talk about the championship series for the AFC and the NFC that happened last week, because there's some riling up that happened between those games, and I feel like you are in the perfect mood right now to jump into those conversations.
I am. Why don't we kick it off? Do we want to divide it up um, into categories of smart tush push and a stupid tush push? Do we want to? Is that how we want to divide this up? Because it'd be real easy. We can
Yeah.
talk about the Eagles and the Redskins and how the Eagles made Washington look like they had no reason being there. The Eagles treated Washington like a little kid in the street, and a Philly team came up and said, "Hey, are you lost? Does your mama know you're out here?" That is what Washington looked like. They look like a lost child. Okay, they look like Georgie about to get taken by Pennywise. That's what that was.
Yeah,
Philly
see,
was Pennywise, and they tricked him with a balloon, and he got sucked into the grate. That's it.
my assessment of that game was the 7-year-old that asked his mom to go out play in the street, and then the street lights turned on, and he wasn't back home, and then he finally comes home, and the mom was like, "Where the hell you been?" and then gave the kid an ass beating, because that's what we saw, a complete ass beating in that that NFC Championship.
My favorite part is when I listened to it on the radio. Is when it was 34-15, and then Washington scores because Jaden does some tightrope dance into the end zone from 5
Right.
yards.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Hey, 34-23. Oh, hey, that's close." No, and then the game ended. It just ended. It was like it was London has fallen, and then Gerard Butler was nowhere to be found, and he couldn't save the president, and everyone died. Like that's how this game ended. Like it was awful.
Yeah.
It was so bad. And we said before the game that we both picked Philly,
Yep.
and I did not have an inkling that it was going to be that bad.
No, I thought it was going to be close. I really thought it was going to be an offensive shootout, and the Philadelphia Eagles were just going to have more firepower on the offense, and Washington wasn't just going to be able to keep up. What I did not expect is for Washington to not be able to keep up on offense or defense or special teams and just get
Yeah,
completely ran through. I think there was a total of what five rushing touchdowns
yeah,
by the Eagles offense. That it was just they were the best way I can describe it, or the my assessment of that game was that the Eagles were just figuring out what was the most humiliating way they could beat the division rival, and it was pounding it down their throats, and they did a really good job at it, and they were tush pushing from 4 yards out and making them jump off sides 4 times in a row just to show how much games they were going to be playing with that team because they did not seem like they were in the same league, and
yeah,
I've never seen a team jump off sides on a tush push so many times just to try saving their season, and it did not work. I, I, I love the fact that I was educated during those offside jumps when the ref said we can't award the team a touchdown if you guys keep it up. I did not know that was a rule, but it pretty much it showed me how much of like a not really a true fashion NFC Championship we were really witnessing. It was just,
yeah.
it was. What do you call it besides an ass beating? Is there really another way to describe it?
No, you can call it the most affectionate your father's ever been with you by beating you so passionately. So
Jesus
like
Christ,
it's just like it was bad. It
it
was
was.
bad.
It was.
It
But
was
kudos
bad.
to Washington. They made the champion. They did
Yeah,
put up
kudos. Yeah,
what
kudos
21.
for getting your ass beat on national television. Yeah,
Well, I mean, they weren't supposed to be there.
congrats.
They weren't supposed to be there is my thing. And everybody was saying, oh, they're playing with house money. But the coaches were saying, well, you have to play your hearts out either way, no matter what money you're
Yeah,
playing with. You have to play to win the game. But
yeah,
I'll still give them kudos because they still had flashes of goodness, and they just showed that ultimately, whenever you have so many pieces, they just didn't have as many pieces to match up well with the Eagles.
yeah,
But no, it's not a bash on Washington. I just think they're a year or two too early. And if we learned anything from Washington, because I didn't really think I learned anything from the Eagles. If we learned anything from Washington, is that their season wasn't necessarily a fluke. I think we learned that their their system is something that is sustainable. The players that are there really want to be there. The coach seems to fit really well into the organization. So what I learned from that game, from Washington, is that they're going to be competing for that division title next year. And the Eagles and the Cowboys, no disrespect to the Giants or disrespect to the Giants, but the Eagles and the Cowboys better be careful because Washington is
yeah,
not going anywhere. This was not a fluke for them this year.
yeah, yeah. Who's that young guy, De'Ami Brown, the receiver on the other end of Scary Terry.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be something special. He was special this season, and
Yeah.
he just got completely overlooked because of Terry McLaurin. Like and he was actually one of the keys that a lot of the odds makers had that if Philly was going to win that game, it was going to come down to how many targets De'Ami Brown had,
Yeah.
and he's going to be something special going forward. And so you'll have another year under the belt. And I know the hopes and dreams of Brandon Ayuk being reunited with Jaden Daniels from their time when they were at what was it, Arizona State. So it's not, that's probably not going to happen now because Ayuk signed the extension in San Fran and then promptly just blew up his leg.
Yeah.
So, but Jaden is he this was arguably the greatest rookie season by a quarterback in the history of the game.
Mm-hmm.
It was absolutely uh, just so entertaining to watch. He has control over that locker room. Those players respect him,
Yeah.
and he has a lot of fun on the field. But he also doesn't make a ton of mistakes. Well, up until this last game, but it's just, but he still got a lot to learn. But from what he's shown from year one, I, hey, there we go. You
Yeah.
know, and then that question out there is like, should Chicago have taken Jaden Daniels? And I said it from the top.
Yep.
Yes, you should
Yep.
take Jaden Daniels. Yeah, I'm not sitting here, and again, I'm not sitting here saying Caleb Williams isn't going to amount to much, but Jaden Daniels was clearly more NFL ready than Caleb Williams was.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly, clearly ready. Jaden Daniels was so ready. His head coach is a defensive coach. He relied solely on Cliff Kingsbury to help him develop this past season in his first year. That tells you something. And so you know, but Jaden's going to be fine. Washington's going to be fine.
Yeah.
Dan Quinn is. I mean, and we saw Dan Quinn do this when he was with Atlanta. You know, I mean, he knows how to prepare a football team. He knows how to
Mm-hmm.
get a team ready to play. He knows how to get a team far into the playoffs. He did it in the Super Bowl. Kyle Shanahan's. It was his fault that he said, "Hey, Kyle, you see this beautiful Lamborghini I've given you? I want you to crash it into a pole going max speed." So hopefully, and then I mean, we'll see what happens next year. It seems like Cliff Kingsbury's not going anywhere, which is a good thing for Jaden's development that he's
Right.
going to stay. So Washington will be fine. They'll be competing with Philly for years to come for the top of that NFC East. That's just going to happen. Now let's go to the other side where disappointment reigned emotionally for me.
Yeah.
Um, that was sad.
It was. It was a really. We were both high on the Bills. I really thought this was a year that they were going to be able to break through the Chiefs curse or the Chiefs brick wall. And no matter how strong your car is, I guess, and how much
Mhm.
horsepower it has, the wall always wins. And the Mahomes wall stands strong into yet another Super Bowl. But that was, yeah. At least it was. I can say at least it was a good game. But at the
Mhm.
same time, because it was a good game and why it was a close game is why it's so disheartening that once again we had the same ending to that storyline.
Yeah.
And here's my thing. Here's my thing about that game specifically that discourages me more. Uh, the Bills lost that game having every opportunity to win that game. In
Yep.
the previous matchups that they've had, a few of the times Josh Allen has been on the sideline having no say in what happened with that game, and Mahomes dictating that they were going to win that game.
Hmm.
Josh Allen finally got that opportunity this time. I think he got the ball back with 3 minutes and 33 seconds or something like that
Yep.
uh, to just at least get a field goal to tie the game, get a touchdown to win the game. They had the perfect opportunity to have the perfect storyline ending to that, and they just couldn't pull through. Now, is that based off of what you saw in that last Josh Allen drive? I guess my question would be to you: was that more a testament to the Bills choking or not really being on par with the Chiefs, or is it more a testament to the Chiefs' defense and really showing what they've been showing all year? I guess is that the defense can really carry them to a Super Bowl.
No, it comes down to one question. Where was James Cook? Where was James Cook? Where was he? It was like, the like an episode of Stranger Things. Max is at the mall and all of a sudden her face is on a milk carton. Like, where is James Cook? Where is he on that last drive? That is inexcusable. I get Joe Brady is some wonderkin. I get it. Look, I appreciate Joe Brady. Okay, he helped construct one of the greatest offenses in LSU football history. One of the most dominant offenses I've ever seen. But what at at what point are we again? At what point are we going to allow offensive coordinators off the hook for not relying on like your key guys on the last drives of the game? When are we going to hold them accountable for saying, "Hey, Josh Allen, I know you're Superman. I know you're the snowplow. I know you're the only one giving 110% out here. So I want you to do everything. I'm giving you no help." That makes no sense to me at all. And that has nothing to say for the fact that that was clearly a first down.
Oh yeah,
Obviously,
on his own
it was clearly a first down.
on his own version of a push.
But but my issue with people saying, "Oh, well, the game's rigged. It's rigged for the Chiefs." It's not rigged for the Chiefs. The Chiefs are smart. The Chiefs knew Josh Allen was going over the left guard every single time, and they never diverted from that. And on top of that, Josh Allen is 6'6". Stop supermaning your way on top. You're 6'6", 230. Pile drive your way through.
Mm-hmm.
Pile drive. Just get in there and just just be a missile. Just push in there. Why are you going to do a tush push and you're just being catapulted? What is this, Monty Python? I don't like. Just and I say that because it was comical to sit there and be like, "What are you doing? You are so big. You cannot be. You can't. You're already big. Why are you trying to make yourself bigger?
Yeah.
Just disappear as much as you can." And so it's because of that, and because James Cook was on a milk carton that last drive of the game for Buffalo. That is inexcusable.
What's crazy about the James Cook thing that you're mentioning is that I want to say the drive before, or the drive, either it was the drive right before that, or the drive coming out of halftime, where they ran the ball like 12 times and scored a touchdown. And James Cook ended up supermaning into the end zone to score that touchdown. But it wasn't the fact that it was the fact that they ran the ball 11, 12 times on the Chiefs and still got a touchdown out of it without necessarily having to rely on Josh Allen. And then that didn't happen in the moment where you needed to control the clock and also get points. They felt like they needed to get points, but they were almost playing like they were down by 7 with 30 seconds left in the game. That was not the situation that was in front of them. They had more than enough time to run the ball, play the offense that had been working for them all year long, and they just went away from it. And was it just me, or did it give you flashbacks of the Seattle Super Bowl where they wanted to give Russell Wilson his time to shine to beat the Patriots, and then ended up backfiring on them? I almost got a feeling that they were trying to be like, "Hey, Josh Allen, we're gonna give you the ball because we want you to have the winning drive in your hands, and we want you to win the game so that you can have the headline."
Yeah, no, it's like, "Hey, son, I know you just got your driver's permit. I'm gonna let you drive alone for the first time." "Oh, sweet. Oh, and by the by, there is a torrential rainstorm happening, and I need you to make sure that the car gets back in one piece. Yeah. If something happens to you, well, God forbid nothing happens to the car." This is what happened. It cannot be that you just stop. It was bad enough that Buffalo allowed Kansas City to score more points in one game than they had scored in any other game this whole season.
Yeah.
That was inexcusable. I get that Babich likes to have the game come to him. I understand that. You cannot do that if you are playing the 2-time and maybe 3-time straight Super Bowl champ. You can't do that. Kansas City already knew everything about Josh Allen. Why do you not know what you need to plan for? You already played them. You know exactly what is required. Nothing's changing. There's nothing flashy about this Chiefs offense this season. They are not the Globetrotters of old, but you made them look like they had all the old faves out on the court, just dribbling behind themselves and between the legs and off of fans' heads and shooting 4-pointers. You already know. You already know what is required to beat them because, oh wait, yeah, you beat them already.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
That is why I get so frustrated when they say, "Oh, the game is fixed for the Chiefs." It's not. Sean McDermott's a great guy and all, but he too is the one most voted most likely to succeed, but in his homeschool senior year. And again, because his little brother eats glue. And for being a defensive-minded guy, why is your defense doing this? What are you doing to prepare for this game that you allow the Chiefs to score arguably twice as many points as they should have scored?
Yeah. I
There
mean,
should be no reason the Chiefs didn't score more than 20 points in this game.
if you want
None.
to give credit to somebody, you have to give credit to the Chiefs because they most likely went and watched the Rams game that the Bills had, where they lost the game to the Rams. Rams putting up
Yes.
45 points on them.
Yes.
The script was right in front of the Chiefs. If the Bills didn't go look at that game and say, where did we go wrong to allow an offense to put up that many points on us, that falls on the Bills. But kudos to the Chiefs because it was very obvious they knew exactly how to put up points against the Bills defense. And the Bills defense also showed that they had vulnerabilities. All season long, they showed that they had vulnerabilities. And the coaching staff didn't do enough to put them into positions where those vulnerabilities were hidden for a coaching staff like the Chiefs. We sat here last week and we said the Chiefs aren't going to make mistakes. You have to play a perfect game because you can't rely on them to have any mistakes. That was because of the coaching. Because you and I, JB, can sit here and watch that the coaching staff that the Chiefs have in place know how to dissect an offense, know how to dissect an opponent's defense, know how to prepare the perfect game plan for them. And the Bills didn't do the same thing that the Chiefs were doing, which is knowing exactly where to attack on the other team to be successful. That falls on the Chiefs of coaching. I hate that we always sit here and blame on the coaching, but we can't sit here and blame the players. The players only do what is put in front of them as far as strategy, what the game plan is developed by the coaches. So why am I sitting here and harping on the coaching? Because the coaches are the ones that are supposed to put the players in a position to succeed. And once again, they did not do that because, like you said, the Chiefs only scored 30 points once in the regular season. One time, and it was 30 points. They didn't score more than 30 points, and you allowed them to put 37 points on you in a AFC championship game?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
When you allow Kansas City to eclipse 30, I know they say, oh, it's 32-29. It was so close. It shouldn't have been that close. It shouldn't have been that way in the first place. That's the problem.
Yeah.
That's the issue.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I'm the Bills, I am firing Joe Brady immediately for allowing this to happen. If I'm the Bills, who is it? Brandon Beane? Is he the GM of the Bills? If I'm Brandon Beane, I'm not firing Sean McDermott, but I'm strongly considering it.
Yeah.
Because this guy is a defensive-minded guy, and this is how he helps prepare his defense. Mm-hmm. This is what happens.
That's supposed to be his forte.
That's supposed to be what he's good at.
Yeah. Right.
That's like being the tallest guy at midget camp, only because you can open the top cupboard for the cookies. Like that's what he's supposed to be good at this. But he proves time and again when it matters that he is not. And it has to change. Maybe he's got to stop giving that same old talk about how the terrorists are a good team. Maybe, I don't understand how you can hang your hat on something that you say I specialize in, and this is what you do. Mm-hmm. This is what you do. And then Joe Brady, it is inexcusable that you leave Josh Allen's greatest asset, aside from his size and aside from he is arguably the most talented quarterback in the NFL today. His greatest asset is James Cook. Where is he? Where is James Cook? Mm-hmm. Where? It is inexcusable to me that you can leave him off the field for that last drive. It doesn't make any sense. And you leave him off of that last drive to try a play that was inevitably going to fail. You cannot push a 6'6" guy and catapult him into the sky. You can't do it. Yeah.
I will say this though. I wish I had the account that did a dissection on the Chiefs because there is some credit to be given to the Chiefs, and this individual on TikTok gave analyzed what the Chiefs had done on defense and really broke down how the Chiefs were so well prepared for Josh Allen that they confused him in that last drive and that even in that last play. He analyzed how the Chiefs defense the entire game were sitting heavy. Their linemen were pushing the line on the strong side, and Josh Allen the entire game was adjusting his offensive line to protect it. All game it worked. He adjusted his line to get that blitz covered on the strong side, and on the last play on that fourth down where they needed a conversion to get within field goal range,
Mm-hmm.
they did the exact same formation where they went heavy on the strong side, and Josh Allen once again adjusted his line to cover that side, and they blitzed the corner and the slot corner and the defensive end on the opposite side, and didn't do that all game long until that one play, and that one play really they got the best out of Josh Allen, and there was two. If you noticed, there was two unblocked guys
Yeah.
rushing right at Josh Allen that made him instantly scramble.
Yeah.
That again, kudos to the account that did that kind of dissection. But that goes to show that the Chiefs knew exactly what they were doing and they prepared
Yeah.
their defense and played games. Well, they didn't play games, but they prepared Josh Allen to for that exact moment because they knew what they had in their pocket, and it worked so well for them. Weren't you? Now here's the thing: weren't you the one at the beginning of the season that said the Bills' head coach should be on the hottest seat, if not be one of the first coaches to lose their job this year?
Yep.
And it was because of the same issues that we were talking right now, right? You can't
Yep.
get over the hump, and you're no matter how many pieces you have,
Yeah.
you can't seem to put things together, no matter how good of a season you have in the regular
Yeah.
season. I just I wanted to bring that up because it was something that was obvious. It's within, spotlighted on the in the center of attention, and in the biggest of moment, it once again showed itself. So, do you move on from your head coach if you're the Bills?
No, not right now. You don't, because it's real easy to respond to the shock of it all. You're trying to fix the outlet, and then it shocks you, so you punch the wall, and all of a sudden, oh look, now I got to get a real electrician out here to help fix whatever this is, while I go to the urgent care to fix my
Mm-hmm.
burned hand. This is like you can't fire the man right now because while yes, he absolutely, I mean, pun intended, fumbled the ball in this. He, I, who are you going to get that's better?
Yeah.
Who you going? That is always the question a team has to ask themselves. The Giants didn't ask themselves that question because you can get 1,000 guys better than Brian Dable, but they were like, hey, no one else is out there. But with Sean McDermott, he is. The players seem to respond really well to him, which I get it. Like there's pros and cons to it. The Raider players responded well to AP as an interim and as the head coach, and look what that's got them. The same place that's been getting them for the last decade, which is the cellar. Like this, like it's not as easy as it sounds to just get rid of a guy. You have to sit there and consider who are we going to get that's better? Who is it? It's not Joe Brady. It ain't Joe Brady sitting upstairs because he's just going to forget the players he has. He's going to pull a Kyle Shanahan just as often as Kyle Shanahan does. He's going to forget, oh, I have an all-pro running back, and I'm just going to put the game on the shoulders of him. So you have to consider who are we going to get that's better. And you can't. There's no one out there right now. There isn't.
Yeah. I mean, that's if it's like the lesser, if you're taking the approach of what's the lesser of the two evils whenever you're deciding on what head coach you have, I mean, I guess that's a good approach, but you can't tell me. I refuse to accept that there's not one coach that is an upgrade from him. Even in the college world, there's coordinators and head coaches stashed in so many pockets that if you have a good GM and a good scouting team that's looking for a head coach, there's always somebody better than you, unless you're the greatest of all time.
Honestly, Buffalo missed their shot last offseason when Jim Harbaugh was a free agent.
That's I mean, that would have been a really
If they
good pickup.
honestly wanted to go grab a guy who was better, who was who was instantly better, and would instill a culture of preparedness and sticking with your assignment, that's Jim Harbaugh, and they missed that boat.
Yeah,
They missed it. They weren't going to get Mike Vrabel this year. He was already tied to to the Patriots,
yeah.
and like I got no problem with Pete Carroll going to the Raiders, but I don't think I mean I don't know. Maybe Pete Carroll does a better job in Buffalo. I don't know, but they absolutely missed the boat last year when Jim Harbaugh said, "I'm coming to the NFL."
Yeah. No, you know what? The the product of their own demise when it comes to the Bills is that the perfect coach for that type of system, for that type of team that has to, because of the weather factor and they have to rely on running the ball so often because sometimes the weather just doesn't allow for you to throw the ball. The perfect coach for that kind of system would be Bill Belichick if it wasn't that they're in the same division because I think Bill Belichick believes in the rivalry and the tradition of
Mm-hmm.
just like hating a division rival. If they weren't in that division, I feel like Bill Belichick would love that job with that type of quarterback and Josh Allen and
Yeah.
that type and an offense that is built for running the ball. I feel like Bill Belichick would be a perfect fit for what the Bills are trying to do with their offense at
Yeah.
least, but
Yeah.
it's not going to happen. I would be surprised if next coaching cycle somehow Bill Belichick comes up in the conversation for the Bills head coaching job. But I would love to see it happen. I would love that.
Yeah, but this all depends on who's available. And right now, he's not. And right now, we have an Eagles Chiefs Super Bowl. The second time in 3 years we have this Super Bowl. Which, and honestly, like I saw a great tweet from Jake Crane from Crane and Company saying it, an absolutely awesome sports show if you guys haven't watched it yet. But he said, don't let, he said to the effect, don't let your hatred for reruns interfere with the fact that you're watching greatness.
Hmm. I
Like
mean, yeah,
this is greatness, and I said I've Manny, I've sat on here with you for a year now, and you know the animosity I have, the irrational animosity I have toward this team that wears the wrong laundry. Okay, I have sat here and said I don't want to see it happen, but I also am not going to sit here and act like Hal Steinbrenner, the owner of the Yankees, and blame another team for being great.
yeah.
Like I this is an opportunity as sports fans for us to see something we have never seen before. And wouldn't it be just so poetic that we had never seen a team lose 4 straight Super Bowls until we saw the Bills do it, and now thanks to the Bills, we have an opportunity to see a team win 3 straight Super Bowls. So this is like it's poetic, and it's one of those things where um let's just sit there and it is an interesting thing because people hate both of these teams, but we hate Philly less. And this is a city that physically assaults Santa Claus. Okay, and when people hate the Chiefs more than the people who assault Santa Claus. Like but this is the city of Rocky. This is the city of Invincible. Because Mark Wahlberg really did do that in the '80s with Dick Vermeil. He really did try out for the Eagles.
Hmm.
So I've been told, reliably informed, that was Mark Wahlberg's story when he was probably 11. Makes sense. But going into this game, Manny, I'm not going to ask you who you have.
No.
I'm going to ask you, what are the chances Philly wins this game?
Do you want a number, or you just want me to have a take on it?
Have a take, have a number.
So if I had to give the Eagle, let me mentally and spiritually, I need to take a reset because I would rather see a dynasty brewing in front of my face, knowing that there's no way in hell any other team is going to win a Super Bowl by consistently watching the Chiefs win Super Bowls, and my dislike for the Eagles. I have to, if I had to put a number behind it, I would have to put it less than a 50-50 chance that they win. I would, I, I feel in my instinct tells me the chances of the Eagles winning the Super Bowl is about a 40% chance. And it's because they have so many pieces. They have a lot of pieces that seem on paper to match up really well with the Chiefs on both sides of the ball. Their defense, I saw this post recently where every single starter on their defensive side is new compared to the last Super Bowl run that they had. They completely revamped their
Yeah.
defense,
Hmm.
and I feel like part of that was seeing what was brewing in the AFC and saying we need to find a single
Hmm.
piece that matches up with every single one of those 11 guys on the other side.
Hmm.
And on the offensive side, they've done the same thing. They've known where their weaknesses are. They've brought in key players, and the addition of Saquon Barkley just seems to make so much sense for a team that was already full of weapons. It just, but at the same time, the ultimate X factor is always going to be the coaching. You and I
Yep.
always sit here and talk about how important is coaching, and I feel like the X factor is coaching. And considering if you give me one coaching staff, head coach all the way down to coordinators, all the way to the ball boy and the laundry guy, I would take the Chiefs coaching staff over the Eagles coaching staff. So for that deciding factor and how much weight I put on it, I would say like a 40% chance they win.
Yeah.
But that is still me probably still having a little bit of a despise for the Eagles.
I would. This is a toss up for me.
I know.
You brought up something in the Washington game that could serve to be key in this Super Bowl for the Chiefs to win it if Philly follows through with this. If Kellen Moore and company puts a premium on trying to get the ball to AJ Brown,
Hmm.
the Eagles lose this game without a doubt. If the Eagles focus on the run, again, this goes back to the Baltimore Buffalo game. Use what got you here. Do not be Todd Monken, Kellen Moore, and refuse and just stop handing the ball off to Derrick Henry. Give the ball to Saquon. Feed him the ball as often as possible. I get he had some hamstring issues in that Washington game. You think Saquon gives a flip about the fact that his hamstring might be less than 100%? No. He already knows what it's like to flounder in an organization that has no direction. That's why he came to Philly. Use him. Ride him. You
Yeah.
gave him the big money. So for this exact purpose,
Hmm.
do not abandon it. And then on top of that, Steve Spagnuolo is fantastic with that Chiefs defense. Oh, I believe Philly has a legend running their defense too. Vic Fangio
Yeah.
is no one to sneeze at.
Hmm.
You think CJ Gardner Johnson is going to sit there? That CD Deuce is not going to allow Travis Kelce to roam the middle of the field wide open. If he smells Taylor Swift's perfume, he is knocking him out in the middle of the field. If he gets a whiff of it, he is knocking him out. And Quinion and Cooper, they are not going to allow DeAndre and Hollywood to run all over them. It's
Yeah.
not going to happen. Zach Bond's going to be roaming the middle of that field. Jalen Carter's going to be attacking Patrick Mahomes. We already saw a recipe for success against Washington. Jaden Daniels is like a rebuilding man's dream of Patrick Mahomes. The same miraculous throws, the same getting out of the pocket, the same escaping pressure. It's the same. Do not divert from the plan that you just We're, the Eagles have the greatest situation because they just played this game. They essentially just played this game.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with lesser weapons on Washington, obviously, aside from, Scary Terry, but, in no disrespect to, De'Ami Brown, but Kansas City has weapons. They have weapons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Philly's already shown that they can stop them.
Yeah.
Just give Saquon the ball.
And
Give Saquon the ball.
here's what we're gonna do. Next week, the Super Bowl week, what we're gonna do on next episode, for those of you watching and listening to us, shout out for all of you viewers and listeners. What we're gonna do next week is JB and JB, you're gonna take us a team. We're gonna get a team at random, and we are gonna fight tooth and nail to figure out and to argue why our team will win the Super Bowl, and we're gonna dissect every component of it, and we'll see who wins that argument. That's gonna be our Super Bowl preview next week. And there's not going to be we're not going to give any leniency to the other team. We're going to stick to our guns. Our team is going to be the team we fight for, and we're going to dissect every single aspect of it and see what we come out with at the end of the episode. But for now, there was some questions that I wanted to plant into your noggin over the week to think about. Mm-hmm. One of those questions has to do with the AFC. My question to you is, because we keep seeing this storyline, and this is a conversation that is happening everywhere in the sports world. Are the top other three quarterbacks in the AFC just doomed because of the timing that they are into the league? That being them running into Mahomes, and by the top three quarterbacks, I'm referring to Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and Joe Burrow. Would they be so good we winning multiple Super Bowls by now if they were in any other time and if Mahomes wasn't in the league at the same time? Or is it just something that's going to take a little bit longer to figure out? Or is it just, you know what, you ran into Patrick Mahomes and the dynasty of the Chiefs? There's been multiple Hall of Famers that never got a Super Bowl ring because they ran into greatness on the other side. Yeah. What say you?
So when you first asked me this question, I had a different response entirely. But something I heard today, I think it was from Colin Cowherd, that leads me in a different direction in this question. The answer to the question is yes, but not because of Mahomes. It's because of those of the organizations and how they are led. If you look at the last several Super Bowls, the last, repeat people, all right? You got the Rams, you got the Niners, you got the Eagles, you got the Chiefs, okay? These are the teams that consistently are on the offensive when it comes to revamping what they are going to do. When you have the Bengals on Joe Burrow, the Bengals are one of the worst run organizations in NFL football. It is a miracle at all that they have both one of the best quarterbacks, one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league, and one of the top 5 wide receivers in the league. It is a miracle they have either one of those. It is a miracle they have both. And you're going to see both of them leave Cincinnati. They're going to get nothing in return for either one of them because this is just a terribly run organization. If you look at Baltimore continues to cycle through coordinators.
Yep.
But they don't really change the personnel on the field. The only thing they did differently this year, and the thing they didn't capitalize on when it counted, was the one guy they added, Derrick Henry. And then when you go to Buffalo, we've already talked about Buffalo. We've already talked about them to exhaustion. Buffalo's issue is that they continue to live down in the moment where it matters. They give us excitement in the regular season. When it comes to the postseason, they continue to flop every single time. And you're wasting all 3 of these organizations are wasting the talents of these quarterbacks. All three. Now, out of those three, Baltimore has done the most to try to change things. You know, they try to bring in Odell. That worked to some extent last season. They
Mm-hmm.
brought in Derrick Henry. That worked really well until Todd Monken decided, Derrick who? Like this, I just so they are cursed because at the top of that pile is not just a quarterback but an organization
Yeah.
that will continue to rise to the top.
Yeah.
And and unless you take a page, and it's interesting how out of those four teams I listed at the top, the ones that have made the Super Bowl, multiple times, most recently, three of those are NFC teams. Three. Only one AFC team has continued to evolve the way they should have. The greatest sign of this is Kansas City had Tyreek Hill. They had the most explosive receiver in the NFL,
Yep.
and they traded him to strengthen their defense. They sacrificed the Harlem Globetrotterness of the offense in order to strengthen a part of their team that needed strengthening.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at Kansas City, there was no team that was more complete and more prepared on every special teams, defense, offense than Kansas City was. We sat here and said Kansas City is the luckiest, something in, undefeated team, something in one team in the NFL, but really come down to the fact that they were prepared on every angle.
Yep.
They were prepared and they are prepared.
Yeah.
And they're going up against a team who continues to revamp their defense, continues to revamp that offense, brought in the premier running back of this offseason to help get them there, and they have ridden him hard. And so this is,
Oh, and by the way, they also have the greatest quarterback in the league right now. That
They do.
probably helps a little bit.
yes, and it does. But to answer your question, yes, they are cursed, but it's not because of Patrick Mahomes. It's because of the franchises they play for and how inept they are to change.
Yeah. So here's a statistic that I came across that just embodied this conversation, and this part of why I wanted to have this conversation with you. Since Joe Burrow made the Super Bowl 4 years ago against the Rams, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Joe Burrow, the last 3 seasons since then, have thrown for 38,000 yards, 321 total touchdowns. Their record is 96-42. There's 6 Pro Bowls and 8 playoff wins. And how many Super Bowl appearances in the last 3 years between those 3 quarterbacks? 0. Since Joe Burrow showed up in the Super Bowl 4 years ago,
Oh, that was 4 years
Joe
ago.
Burrow,
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson, and Josh Allen, all-star stats, 40,000 yards, almost 400 touchdowns, 6 Pro Bowls, and 8 wins, and not one Super Bowl appearance. This reminds me of course, I mean, it's easy to latch on to the Tom Brady era of dominance with the Patriots, but it does really, it's almost poetic how much it's lining up to where Peyton Manning should have probably had more than those 2 Super Bowls that he got. One of those Super Bowls was, again, not because of anything that Peyton Manning did. He really was there just for the joyride.
Mm-hmm.
Peyton Manning, when he was in the AFC, should have had at least 2 or 3 Super Bowls by himself with the Colts. But what happened every year? He kept running into Tom Brady or some random hot streaky team. That is the same thing that has happened with the other 3 quarterbacks right now, and I really do think there will be another AFC quarterback that wins a Super Bowl before one of those 3 quarterbacks wins a Super Bowl. Why? Because again, history will repeat itself. And what happened? What was the reason that Tom Brady didn't end up with 10 Super Bowls? It wasn't because of Peyton Manning. It wasn't because of those great quarterbacks. It was because some random team got really hot in the playoffs and somehow stopped them from winning. Eli Manning took 2 Super Bowls from him.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow not Joe. I'm sorry, not Joe Flacco randomly became this amazing all-star quarterback in the AFC with the Ravens and got them a Super Bowl. That is what's gonna. I feel like that's what's gonna happen in the AFC. There's gonna be some
Yeah.
random quarterback, some random team that just
Mhm.
clicks so well, and they're gonna get a Super Bowl before these three quarterbacks. No
Yeah.
matter how much skill
Mhm.
set they have behind them, and Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. I hate to say it, but it's just sometimes you just got the short stick when it comes to your time,
Mhm.
the team, and again, you keep running into Patrick Mahomes. This, if there wasn't a better embodiment of like a rock paper scissors in front of us, this would be it. Lamar Jackson can't get past Josh Allen. Josh Allen can't get past
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes. Joe
Mhm.
Burrow just randomly, just showed up in a Super Bowl because he got an overtime field goal because the Chiefs squandered that opportunity too. But somehow those they keep beating each other up and they can't figure out how to beat any
Yeah.
of the other ones. It's
Yeah.
just it's a weird
Yeah.
symmetrical like perfect
Mhm.
AFC catastrophe for these quarterbacks.
Yeah.
But you do have to feel you feel bad for the I mean
Mhm.
I feel bad for the fact that any other time, even if you just plucked out
Mhm.
Patrick Mahomes
Mhm.
and the Chiefs head coach, if you just took those two out of the equation, Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson would be taking turns showing up into the Super Bowl because they're just that good. But they keep running into the Chiefs. The Chiefs have been showing up what 7 AFC championships in a row. Now they're three Super Bowls in a row. Like the consistency from the Chiefs organization is just astronomical, and it sucks that at the same time that is happening, we're also talking about great quarterbacks in the other three just not having the opportunity to really show what they have because they do deserve it. They Josh Allen deserves a Super Bowl. I really thought this was going to be the year that he really at least got to the taste of a Super Bowl, even if he didn't win it. He definitely deserves a Super Bowl. Lamar Jackson, two-time MVP, maybe, depending on how the voting goes, maybe three-time MVP. Can't sniff a freaking Super Bowl. Why? Because the freaking Chiefs are in your way every single year. So, to answer my own question, it is their own demise. It is the curse of their own creation because whatever they're doing, the Chiefs are 5 steps ahead of them and are already figuring out what piece you wanted to pick up last week, and they already have 3 replacements to cover that on the schematic side. It's this. It is a blessing for the viewers to see greatness happen in front of us, but it's a curse for the three quarterbacks that have to go through that gauntlet every single year because you
Yeah.
know they're not going anywhere. And you
Yeah.
know you have to figure out how to beat Patrick Mahomes. And right now, I don't know that you can beat Patrick Mahomes. There's not in a year where the offense was not the reason you made a Super Bowl with Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback, they're still in the Super Bowl, not being carried by your offense.
Mhm.
How do you beat them? How
Yeah.
do you beat them?
And look, and to answer your question about all those, just go back to the 2000s, okay? When you had Ben Roethlisberger, and you
Yeah.
had Aaron Rodgers, and you
Yep.
had Peyton Manning, and you had Drew Brees, and they
Yep.
all went up against Tom Brady. And I'm not trying to exclude anybody on purpose, but the one thing that New England had that these other teams did not is New England was constantly changing.
Mm-hmm.
They changed all the time. We sat here and said until Randy Moss got to New England that Tom Brady never really had anybody to throw to. No disrespect to Dion Branch, but like Belichick was always changing the team. He was always tinkering with it. He was a mad scientist, always tinkering with the defense and with the offense. How, how many day? I mean, back then it was what 3 days of the draft. How many day three picks did did New England start the first
Mm-hmm.
year that they picked them? It seemed like every single season.
Yep.
Peyton, no disrespect to Peyton Manning, he's one of the greatest to ever play the game, one of the greatest to ever quarterback. But the Colts never changed. They never changed. Defense, offense, it was always the same. These teams continue to rely on what got them to the playoffs the season prior, as opposed to sitting there saying, hey, maybe there is some, maybe we can pick and choose here. Maybe there's something here. Buffalo did great by getting rid of Stephon Diggs last season, and then Shakir ended up being like the highlight of that offense, which, by the by, on that last pass of Buffalo's chances, when the ball hit Dallas Kincaid in the flipping hands and in the flipping arms, Shakir was wide open.
Oh, yeah,
Shakir
that's
was
true too.
wide open. He could have taken it for 25, 30 yards. Easily. There was no... Every single Chief was focused on Josh Allen. There was no one to Josh Allen's strong side. No one. No one was there.
Yep.
So it's just one of those things where until these teams begin to change, look at your roster in a very critical way. Think about it. Matt Milano is a great linebacker. Buffalo does nothing to address the fact that Milano is hurt. And they sit there and say, we can do with what we have. Detroit did not. They did. Who did they go out and get? Who's the guy from Cleveland they went out and got?
Oh, yeah, the middle. Oh, my God.
Yeah, because Aiden Hutchinson was hurt.
They went and traded,
I can't remember his name. But, I mean, even Detroit tried something. They tried something. But you need to look at your team, and you need to look at it through a critical lens and say, where can we change? You cannot make this personal.
Yeah. So we're gonna change things up a little bit, and I prepared you for this next question that I'm gonna ask you. And the way we're gonna treat this is I'm gonna give you a small monologue opportunity, and then I will tell you I have my view on the next question, and I will give you the opportunity to sway me one way or another, or maybe you'll just fall in line with how I feel about it. But the moment for your second monologue on this episode comes from the question: which franchise is more cursed? The two franchises in question, the Buffalo Bills, for a lot of the reasons that have already come out throughout the entire episode, including their 4 Super Bowl losses, and your near and dear Chicago Cubs. Which franchise is more cursed, the Buffalo Bills or the Chicago Cubs?
Folks, there was a time when I was a teeny weeny baby, and I mean like in my 20s, and I'm watching the Chicago Cubs, and I'm watching them get to the NLDS against the Atlanta Braves, 1997, 1998, and they get swept by Atlanta. I believe they got swept both years by Atlanta in that DS. 2003 happens, and I'm not in my 20s by then. 2003, I'm 17 years old. And I'm watching this team up against the Miami Marlins in the 8th inning. And the shorthanded Alex Gonzalez, who we got because he was shorthanded, ended up making a critical error. And then Steve Bartman decided to be born 30 years prior and attend the game. And the umps decided to be blind that game and not see that Moises Alou could have caught the ball. The Buffalo Bills of my childhood went to the Super Bowl 4 times in a row and lost 4 times in a row. That is a feat that will hopefully, I mean, if you're a fan of your team, hopefully will be matched by another team. If you're a fan of Buffalo, you'd like to not be the record holder of this magnanimous record of losing 4 straight Super Bowls. The team that I believe is most cursed is neither. If I had to sit there and choose which team is more cursed, I'll say the Cubs because they've been alive for a lot longer. This is the oldest living bear I've ever seen who's still a baby. I don't understand how you're a Cub and you've been alive for 150 years, okay? Unless you're Benjamin Button. I guess this is a Benjamin Button bear, okay? Because he's been alive for a long time. And so if I had to choose which team is more cursed, it's the Cubs. But I'm gonna paint the Cubs in the same light as I do the Buffalo Bills. There is such reluctance to change. You cannot sit there and say, "Hey, remember that I'm going to the baseball now. Remember that 3 week period we did really well? Let's keep that going." No, you need to change. You need to stretch the pocketbook. You need to be the waistband of my stepmother, expanding every year, okay? You need to just shove in whatever you can in order to get out what you can, okay? And for her, it was never more pants. It was just unbuttoning the pants. If the Cubs have to unbutton their pants in order to show that they're taking in as much as they can, okay, great, fine. Wear your meat pants for Thanksgiving. I don't care. Okay? I don't care. Get as fat as you want. All right? The Buffalo Bills refuse to actually make any real changes to their team. The Cubs refuse, except apart from this offseason, they have refused to make any real changes to their team. But I will say, but if I had, I'll take it back. If I had to choose, I would say the Chicago Cubs are more cursed. I would say the Cubs are more cursed because they've been around much longer. There have been times when they have actually put into the team what they need to put in, and it just backfired. The Buffalo Bills are not cursed. They're not. They have bad organizational leadership, just like my Chicago Cubs. Bad organizational leadership who refuse to do what's necessary in order to address the team. Again, caveat, until this season, this offseason for the Chicago Cubs. Before that, I can't really pinpoint where the Cubs actually did anything to change. Anything. But both of these teams have bad organizational leadership. Both of these teams need to get out of the mindset of what they see on the field and look at it with a critical eye. I am not going to sit here and give the Bills a pass because they've lost 2 divisional games and 2 AFC championships to the Chiefs. I'm not going to give them a pass because they've had the opportunity to change. You know what you are up against. Do something about it. Why everyone is still in place, I don't understand. Firing an offensive coordinator, it's not going to change a damn thing. It's not. The GM taking accountability for not making enough change, that's accountability. Getting rid of him. But until these organizations actually change the way they operate, they will continue to blame their torment. They will continue to blame their unsuccess on the fact that they are cursed. And it's just absolutely untrue.
JB, I love your points. For every point that you made, I feel like the case would be stronger for you to be leaning towards the Bills being the more cursed organization.
If this was 1994, then yes, I would say that. But since 2020, how much change has actually happened in Buffalo? How much? Yeah. Other than changing your offensive coordinator. They still continue, and I will say this with the greatest respect to the most talented quarterback in the NFL today. They still rely on Josh Allen to do everything. Everything. And they surround him with almost nothing. Mm-hmm. Almost nothing.
I mean,
the reason Tom Brady was able to succeed is because he was constantly having to figure out, who am I going to throw to? Am I going to throw it to the eventual murderer? Or am I going to throw it to the dim-witted guy who's going to run USAA commercials? Am I going to throw it to Julian Edelman? Am I going to throw it to the former quarterback for Texas Tech? Am I going to throw it to Deion Branch? Or am I going to throw it to Randy Moss? He had to change constantly. Tom Brady was always on his toes. That's not a bad thing.
No, it's not.
Giving your quarterback an opportunity to have to revamp how he's going to attack the game is an absolute net positive. It's a net positive. We gave Green Bay so much crap in the 90s because the Packers would never give Aaron Rodgers any weapons. And you know what they drafted? Not weapons. They never drafted weapons, ever. It was the same bozos on the outside.
Either way, because of how history has played out, I have to lean more, and this is the stats that I had. I have to lean more with the fact that the Bills are, if you had to choose a team that's cursed, and there's there's some agreement that I can give you with your take that technically no team is cursed. Even the Cubs won a World Series not too long ago. The Bills now, the Bills in the 90s, 4 years in a row, were the most dominant team in the AFC, and they caught a bad streak out of a random team. Talk about random team. They caught a bad streak from the Giants, getting randomly good in the Super Bowl, and then they come across the Washington at the time Redskins that got really good in the playoffs, and then they ran into the short spur of a dynasty of the Dallas Cowboys of the 90s, and they continuously just could never catch a break. And then they took a back seat. They lost 4 Super Bowls. They went through an entire rebuild. They took a back seat. The New England Patriots dynasty started brewing. They were second, third, fourth in the division, and they let the Patriots dynasty ride out. They go win your Super Bowls. We're gonna be building slowly, surely. We're not gonna get a new stadium, but you know what? We're gonna get some pieces in place. And then the Patriots of what we know of blow up. Tom Brady leaves. Bill Belichick mutually separates from that organization, and the Bills were in the prime opportunity to take over that division, and they did. They took over that division, and they have dominated since Tom Brady left that division. But oh wait, I'm sorry, but Patrick Mahomes has been brewing in college while you guys were taking a back seat and letting Tom Brady play out the rest of his years. Patrick Mahomes shows up, and you have the most explosive quarterback in the league since you drafted him, the strongest arm, the high-powered head coach that you hired during that time. You win the division. You take a chokehold on that division. You have a couple years where your defense was really good. You figure out how to use Josh Allen. You figure out that you need to get rid of pieces and not put so much weight on Josh Allen's shoulders. And what happens in the last 4 years? You keep running into Patrick Mahomes. You went from random spur teams that got hot in the NFC and stopped you from winning a Super Bowl. You made 4 Super Bowls. You literally are at the finish line, and you run into some random teams, and then the Dallas Cowboys that are the most explosive offense during their time, and you can't steal a win out of that. And then you still take a backseat, and then you finally put everything together again, and now you're running into a dynasty once again. And in that meantime, the Cubs happen to win a World Series. So I have to lean more on the Bills being more cursed, because no matter what happens, no matter what they let play out everywhere else, they just can't catch a break. They just can't seem to freaking catch a break. It's unfathomable the bad luck that they keep running into.
Yeah. And the bad luck they run into is the way the organization is run. The Bills taking a break and being a laughing stock of the AFC for years until they drafted Josh Allen, and he ends up leading his team back to respectability. That's like a man getting divorced from his first wife, taking years to figure out his life, and then getting remarried and being worse at it. Like, this is like, at least the old Bills made the Super Bowl. At least there were some highs in that first marriage. There's no highs in this marriage. There's none.
That's why they're more cursed, because
they're not more cursed, because it's their fault. It's their fault that they refuse to change. They're not cursed. They refuse to change. That's it. I'll tell you this. If they went back and they were in the Super Bowl 4 more times in a row, or at least 2 times in a row, and played a team that they should have beat, and they lost. I'll take it back. They went to the Super Bowl and they had to face the like an incredible quarterback. Yes, they would be cursed. They would be cursed. But they're not even making the Super Bowl, not because they're cursed. It's because of their own bad decisions. That's it. That's it. They refuse to change.
You could say the bad decisions. That's the thing. That's the point that I'm trying to get at. You could call it bad decisions. You could call it bad timing, which lines up with the question that I was asking you beforehand. For one reason or another, there's just something that gets in the way of the Buffalo Bills winning a Super Bowl. No matter what the explanation is, there just always seems to be something that gets in the way. Good quarterbacks, better organizations, hot teams, good streaky teams. Troy Aikman was not a laughingstock when the Cowboys beat them. Like, there's always a reason why they just can't get over the hump. If you're telling me that no matter how good your team is, there's always going to be something that gets in your way with it, whether it's internally or some random fluke of a year from a team. If that is not being cursed, I don't know what is, because from what I'm seeing, no matter what the Bills do, no matter what type of team they build, it's just not gonna happen. It's not. It's gonna be how long did the Cubs go before they won a World Series? 120 years.
108 years. Yes.
That's gonna be another 100 years before the Bills win a Super Bowl, because they keep running into some things that are out of their control.
Yeah, and look, I can hear what you're saying, but I disagree. Like, until they get to a point where they can critically look at the roster and say, we need to upgrade here. We need to make this change. We need to make this change. It's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. If you're gonna be the champ, you have to beat the champ.
Right.
Josh Allen said before he almost cried on live TV, losing all his dignity. Okay? If you're going to be the champ, you got to beat the champ. Well, you know what the champs do? They change. They look at their roster with a critical eye and say, you know what? This probably needs to change. I love Tyreek Hill, but I would love my defense to be much better.
Yeah, they do. They do need that. But, I mean, whether it's a change or not, ultimately they still just can't get over the hump. And that, by my standards, no matter what you do, and you can't say they're maybe in a smaller sample, they are unwilling to change, but they did do some stuff, even getting rid of Diggs as the number one receiver at that time. Everybody but you, and I'll give you credit, everybody but you thought that was such a drastic, unexpected move that was only going to set them back more. You sat here and said that was probably going to be the best thing that happened to them.
And it was a great move.
And it was.
More.
But you can't say that they're not willing to make those risks.
I'm not saying they're not willing. They're not willing to do what's necessary. They need to do more. Fire Mike Babbage. Fire Joe Brady. Like, something needs to happen. You can't fire Sean McDermott because you're not going to get anybody better than Sean McDermott.
That's true.
That's the problem they're in. And if last year, if Brandon Beane looked at his roster and his entire team and said, my team would be a lot better with Jim Harbaugh, that's the change I'm talking about. You have to make that change. No one's going to beat Andy Reid. But you know who could beat Andy Reid? Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh could beat Andy Reid. It can happen.
But you're speaking here like Jim Harbaugh would have wanted that job. I mean, yeah.
I'm not saying that he would have wanted it, but you have to take that risk.
But you keep bringing him up. That is such a major jump. You fire a coach that is, getting you there to possibly get Jim Harbaugh. And what if he doesn't take the job?
You know who else was available at that time? Mike Vrabel. If you miss out on Jim Harbaugh, you get Mike Vrabel. Like, they missed their train last year. They missed it. If they were actually going to want to better this team for the long haul, you had your shot last season. Now, I'm not saying you can't improve the defense. I'm not saying you can't try to improve the offense. But it's going to take taking players out of the organization and bringing players in. That's what it's going to take.
And here's my last thought on this. You bring up Jim Harbaugh, and everything we've seen is shown that Jim Harbaugh knows how to win, and everywhere he goes, he wins and he makes programs better.
He won at San Diego State. He's going to win anywhere.
Now the other one, Mike Vrabel, I feel like you're giving him a little too much credit, considering he was doing the same thing for the Titans that the Bills have going on for them right now, making the AFC champ. The Titans made the AFC championship. He couldn't figure that out.
Championship with Ryan Tannehill.
I know that.
Ryan Tannehill.
And Derrick Henry. You don't
think Mike Vrabel's going to win with Josh Allen?
Derrick Henry was the key part to that. I'm just saying.
Okay, they have James Cook.
But
Cook's not a far drop from Derrick Henry.
Bring me a coach that makes you to the Super Bowl and is available. Jim Harbaugh has made a Super Bowl, lost that Super Bowl. Fine. Bring me that coach. Vrabel didn't make a Super
Bowl. The places that Buffalo has never experienced. If they hired Mike Vrabel, Buffalo fans would cease jumping on tables trying to get a spinal injury so that Medicaid would cover it. Like, this is like all of the Bills fans would rejoice if they could have gotten one of these guys. They lost out on both of them because, again, you know what? You can call them cursed all you want. That's fine. You know what? And I'm inclined to believe you to some extent. But to most of it, it is because they refuse to do what's necessary.
I mean, again, all I'm going to say is bring me a head coach that has proven that he can take a team to the next level. And Mike Vrabel, for as good as he is and as good as he was, showed that possibly his ceiling may or may not have been the AFC Championship. And you have that now with your current staff if you're the Bills. You can make the AFC Championship every year. Bring me somebody that has proven that they can get you to the Super Bowl. And unless I'm missing something, Mike Vrabel hasn't gone to the Super Bowl as a head coach. That's all I'm saying.
I'm not doing this, Ron. I'm not doing this merry-go-round with you.
I was going to say, we could go.
Let's do the fix of six.
Let's get to your fix of six, JB. Take it away. Give me your 3.
JB's fix of six, number 3. Bobby Manchild has been the MLB commissioner for now 10 years. Yay! You know, it's one thing to sit there and say, he's not Bud Selig, but there's another way to look at it. He's not Bud Selig. So, look, we can sit there and say that Bobby Manchild has done this 10 years. That's fantastic. And the things that he's trying to do now, he's trying to make up for how much he sucked the job for the previous 10 years before he's no longer the MLB commissioner. Let's stop looking at this through the halo effect, I believe is what the phenomenon is called. When you look at it and say, oh, I mean, it's not even halo effect. It's the graduation effect. That's what it is. You hated this guy for so long. Now he's leaving. And now like, 10 years. Let's revisit your 10 years. Let's revisit your decade, Bobby Manchild, and see how great you've been. When all we've done is criticize every single thing he's done up until now. That's JB's fix of six, number 3. JB's fix of six, number 2. JJ Redick, shut the hell up, okay? You don't have to make excuses for the fact that Bronny does not deserve to be on any NBA court anywhere. He's so bad, he would make the Pistons worse, okay? That's how bad he is, all right? Stop trying to make excuses for putting him in a bad spot. You know what a bad spot for Bronny James is? The NBA. That's a bad spot for him. You shouldn't have called all the teams and said, hey, don't draft him. I promise. Please don't draft him. I'll give you this. I'll give you that. Please don't draft him. LeBron's going to be pissed if we don't get him. Okay? You wanted this. You own it. Okay? You should sit there and say, yeah, he sucked at it. Be a head coach and call out the players and call out the performance when it matters. Okay? Be a head coach. JB's fix of six, number one. If you're going to hire a head coach, and Manny, I know this is going to throw you for a loop because this wasn't my last one until just now. If you're going to hire a head coach, make sure he understands what the team chant is. Okay? I alluded to it at the top of the pod. All right? Do not I'm a Saints fan, if they hired a head coach and he had no idea that the chant was who dat? Who dat? Who dat say gonna beat them Saints? I would want him fired immediately. Liam Cohen, he did great things with Baker, but Baker's already talented. And he made Will Levis look like a competent quarterback before he started jamming his mouth full of mayonnaise. Liam Cohen seems like a nice guy, but when he treats your team chant like it's a sex call, that's a problem. Duval. Yeah, baby. Like, this is an issue, okay? That should be the first question you ask. How do you do our team chant? And if you can't do it, then you don't hire the man. That's JB's fix of six. Manny, go ahead.
JB, give him a break. He's working on his chant. You know, lessons learned, growing pains. He's working on his chant, but that was.
He's the reason they fired Trent Baalke in the first place. You would think he knows this.
That was pretty bad. On Manny's fix of six, number 3, and JB is going to have a reaction to my fix of six. He has no idea what I have in store for him.
Oh, I don't.
The Sacramento Kings are expected to be in talks to be on the trade to get rid of De'Aaron Fox. And here's my thing. Well, I'm bringing in the NBA because we slowly have to transition into the NBA as the NFL season wraps up. But De'Aaron Fox himself, when you have a marquee player and you are a good franchise, the last thing that crosses your mind is, how do I get rid of a good player? You know what that is a sign of? A badly ran franchise. The Sacramento Kings fired Mike Brown after he took them to the playoffs last year, 2 years ago, and ended up losing to the Golden State Warriors in a miraculous Steph Curry 50-point game 7. You're going to fire him not even halfway through the season? And then you want to say you're going to trade Fox? He is your key piece. He is the player that is making the Sacramento Kings relevant. And like I said, what teams trade away good players? Bad teams trade away good players. No good team looks at their best player and says, you know what, I can get a lot for you. No. Every good team says, how can I build around my good player? How can I make sure this player sticks with us? Because he's going to make us be relevant, and he's going to take us to a championship. So Sacramento Kings, way to fall in line. I love the fact that after your little spark of a flash of a good team making the playoffs, you've fallen back into reality, and now you're going to be back into the basement of the NBA league. So congratulations, Sacramento Kings. You did a good job at making us remember that you are at the bottom of the league. On Manny's number 2 fix of 6. Are you kidding me? Drake May is one of the quarterbacks representing the AFC in the Pro Bowl? I sat here a couple weeks ago and got so mad that Travis Kelce was the top voted tight end when he had by far the worst regular season of his career. He wasn't even top 5 statistically. There was a rookie out of Las Vegas that had a way better tight end rookie season, way better rookie season as far as a receiver across the board. And then you're going to follow up the Kelce thing that had me all riled up by bringing Drake May as the quarterback for the AFC Pro Bowl games. J.J. Watt was on the Pat McAfee show and said, you know what? You should be calling the Pro Bowl games the participation games, and you should really consider at some point something good comes to an end. When you're taking a quarterback that is all whose team is also in line to pick top 5, if it wasn't for one win that they snuck away with, they would have been picking first overall. You're taking that quarterback to be in the Pro Bowl? What does that say about the Pro Bowl? What does that say about the Pro Bowl voting? What does that say about the entire Pro Bowl, whatever you want to call it, games, skill challenge? Just give me a break with the Pro Bowl itself. This just gives me the vibes of the Pro Bowl games brewing, and it's going to be the perfect storm of the NFL season getting extended, and then the Pro Bowls getting moved to the middle of the season to where we don't have to worry about this BS, where we have players and QBs representing the best of the best in the Pro Bowl games as a rookie for a 3-15 led freaking organization. So that is Manny's number 2 fix of 6. And on Manny's number 1 fix of 6, Bill Belichick has a podcast. Bill Belichick had Tom Brady on his podcast recently, and Bill Belichick recently said that maybe they should consider renaming the Vince Lombardi trophy, the trophy that the Super Bowl winner gets. Maybe they should consider renaming it the Tom Brady trophy. Oh, there's so many things wrong with this take, and I feel like there is such a little background, little malicious thing that Bill Belichick is up to. First off, you really want to rename a trophy that has history behind it because some quarterback wants 7 of them? That at what point do you get rid of the tradition and the history of winning the Lombardi? Because you know what, there was a quarterback at one time for the last 25 years that he did pretty good. He won 6 of them with us and 7 of them total. But secondly, Bill Belichick, I feel like, is up to no good. Why? Because I feel like he's bringing up the Tom Brady thing, and keep up with my train of thought right now. He's renaming the Tom Brady trophy because the Lombardi trophy is named after a coach. And Bill Belichick, in his pursuit to eventually get the winningest head coach in the NFL record, wants the conversation to be about him in the future once he comes back to the NFL. And how do you start that conversation? By planting the seed of, let's rename the trophy. What ultimately will be the goal to be having a Super Bowl to win the Bill Belichick trophy in the next coming years. But lastly, and this is where my sticking point is, the strongest sticking point. He was talking about renaming the Vince Lombardi trophy as a Tom Brady trophy while we got this guy playing in a Super Bowl for the 3rd time in a row, Mahomes, that we're already saying is going to be better than Tom Brady. What are we going to do in 5-7 years when he has 5 Super Bowls himself? Rename the trophy again? We're going to go from the Vince Lombardi trophy to the Tom Brady trophy, and then we're going to ultimately be like, well, you know what? Actually, Mahomes was better than Tom Brady. We should call it the Mahomes trophy. This is a slippery slope that you get in whenever you start talking about renaming trophies. And how are you going to say Tom Brady should get the trophy named after him when we are already talking about the guy that's going to be better than him as the greatest of all time? You just got to stop. You just got to slow down. And you know what? Sometimes good things are best left alone. And that is Manny's fix of 6.
What was your second fix of 6?
That was the Drake May making the Pro Bowl.
That's right. So I have 3 responses to your fix of 6. I have the Sacramento Queens, I have the Poor Bowl, and I have Billy Bellyache. That's it. That's what I have. Yeah.
I love it. That's the perfect. You took everything that I said in 2 minutes and summarized it in 6 words. Anyways, JB, we are done. We are out of here. And per usual, tell me what you've been drinking.
I have been drinking this wonderful Añejo in Toledo.
Oh,
It
that
is.
looks like that's a
I'm a
cool
big.
bottle.
My dad, well, stepdad, is a tequila connoisseur,
Mm.
and I'm a big. And I love sipping on tequilas with no additives, and
Mm-hmm.
this is one of the ones that I got from a family friend of ours, and it is delicious. And what I was smoking was an Undercrown 10 year. So, Manny, what were you drinking?
JB, I went down the talking about slippery slopes. I went down the brandy slippery slope. I bought an homage.
What is that? Perfect
Very.
Circle? They suck as a band. What is that?
I am drinking an homage, very special brandy. Because why? Because like I said, I've been enjoying brandies. E&J has been hitting the spot, and I was craving a brandy, something smooth. And this bottle has shown me that not all brandies are created equal.
Hmm.
This is not E&J's. For a, this is a higher price bottle than E&J's, and yet somehow I enjoyed the other bottles more. It's doable, but it almost reminds me of like the fiery burn of a whiskey. And if I wanted that, I would have just bought a whiskey. So I'm not too sold on the brandy, but you know, lessons learned. I'm gonna keep exploring the brandy whiskey comparisons, but that was what I was drinking. JB, we are done. We are out of here. We are on our way to the Super Bowl. Tell everybody where they can check up on us.
YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, Box Scores and Bourbon. You can catch additional content on TikTok, X, Instagram, at BSB Sports 24. Manny, close us out, buddy.
Thanks everyone for checking us out. Enjoy your Pro Bowl games, and until next time, cheers everyone.
Stay thirsty, folks.
Ugh.